did a seminar 2 years ago when we were here at Salt Lake. Just a bunch of tips and different ideas, and we're going to do a similar thing tonight. How many people have been building models for more than 10 years? Most people have been building models for more than 20 years. How about 30 years?
Yeah.
Can't count that high.
And then beyond that.
I never had fingers and toes, you know.
There's been a lot of things that have changed in the hobby. The one constant is just the enjoyment of creating something. But I think one of the major differences in the hobby in the last, say, 10 years is the aftermarket companies and all the goodies that we get to play with when we buy a kit and we can add more stuff to it. One such company is Scale Motorsport that Matthew Wells owns. We're going to take some of his products and show you what Jimmy and I do with them. And we're going to have a bunch of other tips for you as well. Now, Matthew started out making carbon fiber decals for race cars. And later, you can come up and look, there's two Formula One cars up here, one with the decals and one without. You can see the difference. The one with the carbon fiber decals just pops out and looks real. Using all of his decals for all the different things that he offers, I find if you use a really warm water, they go on really nice. Really nice warm water. As soon as it starts to cool down, get some more hot water. When you put a decal on, you use a Microsoft decal set. And also a tool that's very helpful is some makeup sponges. They're like a little triangular sponge. You have to be a man and go down the makeup aisle. While you're there, you can pick up some nail polishes for your paint. Just let your decal get soft and set on. Now, like, you just hit it with a hairdryer for a few seconds, and it just sucks down around whatever you do. Now, it's a good idea to make patterns for pieces. You can use tape that you use like to wrap a present with. The Tamiya tape works great. But on most of Matthew's products, he's already done the work for you. The decals come with the patterns already on the back. You cut them out and put them on the model. Now, he also has a line of interior decals. And Jim's going to take a few minutes and talk about some of the things he likes to do with those.
Okay.
Then we'll move on.
I find that these are probably the most misunderstood product out there. You look at this and you see one thing, you know, or you look at this pattern and you see one thing, or you look at this pattern and you see one thing, and you can alter a lot of these. I'm going to pass a couple things around. I have an extensive background restoring antique Fords. Worked at was a foreman of the largest antique Ford restoration shop in the country, and all the early Fords used a long, short grain rubberized cloth for a roof. And I found that if you took this elephant hide pattern, I'm going to give you a few examples, and put one layer down one way, then after that's set up, I put soap, dish detergent in the water. That allows it to slide around pretty easily. And the soap doesn't affect anything else. It doesn't affect the way the decal, you don't get ridiculous, you put tons of soap, a few drops is enough. And I put a second layer on backwards, and you slide it around until you get the picture you're looking for. And by doing that, you cut the pattern, the opening in half, and I put it over a mixture of 50% flat black, 50% Euro gray. And it really, really accurately depicts the texture of the roof that the early Fords used. I'll hang this around, you can look around. And I'll get into some other, we'll start here, but I'll get into some other things you could do. I find that layering the decals allows me to a great extent, extend what they are. Oops. There's a pattern, I think, what number is this? I think it's 1960. It's little rectangles. And it's printed in black and blue, which you would think initially would limit your choices in color range. Now, I do a lot of replica stock building, mostly 50s and 60s. And if you go to a car show, you'll notice that a lot of those cars in that era use a high metallic, in the cloth part of their interior, you'll see a lot of reflective thread. They use a lot of, in the weaving process, a lot of metallics. And I find that I use a background, well, this particular piece I'm going to hand around, there's 3 different little patterns. One I have silver for background, one I have gold, and one I have copper. and I used 2 layers. I wanted to use this on a brown interior. It comes in blue and black. I took gold, I put the black down first, and then 1/2 off. I almost didn't completely cover the black. I half covered the black with the blue over the gold base and put a piece of gold trim piping around it. And you can see real easily now, if you would paint that seat brown, that even though the decals are blue and black, you can see real easily that that would go just fine with a brown interior. Because the effect, the reflective quality is gold, which is really, you know, on the brown side. Next to it, over silver, I use the same pattern, and I put the first coat, the first layer on crooked, then the second one on straight, and it gives an illusion of a pattern, of a long triangular pattern. There's another pattern that's there are little tiny X's. I don't know the number of this one off the top of my head. It comes in red and black. Put it over a copper base, and I put the black down first, then the red over it diagonally, offset. And when you look at it straight down, it gives the illusion of a diamond weave, even though nothing on there is laid down diagonally. Then I pass that around. I also trim it. You make the fabric section, and I like to trim it. And in a lot of the 50s and 60s cars, not by 62, not so much, but a lot of 50s stuff used very reflective welting in the seats. You know, you should see a lot when you're a kid, because the first thing your parents did, they put ground seat covers on the thing. But a lot of them had, you know, even Austin Healey's, PGA8, so some of the last Austin Healey's made up to 67. If you didn't have a leather interior, the piping on it was reflective, was chrome. I use these chrome threads, but and it makes a very effective little border. It's easy to put down, and then you put gives you an edge to paint to. I'm going to pass this around. This is one seat. Got 3 different examples of what you can do. Kind of turn it around the light, and you'll see what it does. You don't just put this over white. A lot of people don't understand. They see this pattern. It's on white. They printed white. They put it on a white seat. It can go. You can make this red stuff be the accent for any kind of browns, silvers. You can use it for, you know, the accent color. One of the things you want to do is trick your eye. And an easy way to trick your eye, have you ever seen those little peel and stick things they sell at speed shops and stuff? They look like little bullet holes. They're flat and they look like a hole. It's a deception to your eye. Your eye is so used to seeing high areas that are colored light and dark and low areas that are colored dark. Same thing, you take that, that's why you put the black on the bottom, offset, put the other color on top. It gives the illusion of a really thick piece of fabric, because it's your eye's trick. It sees the dark thing, it normally, immediately assumes your eye normally thinks that the dark thing is lower and the light thing is higher. So,
How do you attach the thread?
oh, the thread's real easy to attach. Regular C8 glue, you just touch one corner first, wherever you want to start. Just dip it in the glue, and I don't have it with me, you have Bondo squeegee, and you cut it to a point. The super glue doesn't stick to the Bondo squeegee. So you can put the drop of thread down and touch the Bondo squeegee with the thread, hold it for a couple seconds, then it's on. Once one end stuck, it's real easy to hold it tight, and you dip a little bit on a toothpick and rub it on the back of the thread and just touch it as you go, a little bit, half an inch at a time, go right around. But I've done this excellent with that. In here is a good example of one of these decals being used in just a base form. One color beneath it, not overlap. It's fabulous, you know, for that. And this is just giving an example. There are, if I were to do everything you can do with 3 patterns, we would be here till next Thursday. Thousands. Play with the color under it. Don't always assume, like, if you're going to have a green interior, you take the same green, paint the whole seat, use the decals for the green. Try to stretch the color range, try to trick your eye. Go, if the cloth part of the seat, try to go a shade or 2 lighter, then you put your decal over it, you know, and that will kind of trick your eye into thinking it's a different fabric rather than vinyl. Also, you want to play with the reflectiveness. A lot of the vinyls, if you would cover with semi-gloss and then put flat over the fabric, the same thing. You know, you want to, even though that would be the same color, and you would take what would be the vinyl part to be a semi-gloss, not flat. If you look at those early vinyls, none of them are flat. Use a semi-gloss, covering over it, and then flat over the fabric. Unless you're doing some of like, especially early Cadillacs had, their upholstery was damn near chrome. If you look at all the thread in it, it just had so much reflectiveness. There's a pattern that looks like it's a little plaid over gray. It makes an enormously convincing trunk line. However, if you take this red, you can, if you put a red base down and then take the blue triangles, the blue rectangles from the first pattern, and put this plaid over it, it looks almost like a Scottish plaid. Like if you were doing a Sportsman, or you know, the old Sportsman convertible Chrysler had, you could make a 3-color plaid with those by using a red base with the blue, then put the black plaid pattern over it. So and the stuff is reasonably enough, you know, it's reasonable enough in cost that it doesn't hurt to try a few things. Cut a bunch of square inches up, paint some different colors, put some things down over some other colors. And I think what you will be really surprised of is the colors you use for a base are so different than what you would expect. I use a lot of metallic colors for a base. When you start to paint a seat and you're using copper, the immediate thought is, you know, that looks really wrong. You know, your seat is in chrome. But so small, such a very small percentage of the metal is going to show through. That's where your light's going to come from, and that works really well for that. Here's another one. I'm very familiar with 63 and 4 Chevys, and I took that same blue pattern over the blue seat, black down first and blue off a half, and it's damn near exactly what a 64 pound interior upholstery is. I have a real car. I mean, if you look, open the door on the real car and look there, you go, that's the same stuff. You can offset it, you know, every way you can think of. Go sideways, go up, down. You can put more than one layer. You know, 2, 3, 4. I do find that, like I said, once the first coat's down and really set up well, a little soap in the water will allow you to play with it. Put it down. I put the first one I cut to a very exact size. That's that. The second one I make too big on purpose. I'm going to trim it. Because what will happen is, it's going to play all kinds of tricks with your eyes. When you start sliding it around, you watch the picture change. The picture's going to change tremendously. You're going to watch, oh, look, now it's like little diamonds, now it's triangles, now it's squares. As you keep sliding the top layer over the bottom layer. Then when you find a look you like, then let it dry here and trim it. That's not too bad. Let's see. I guess I can do a couple other things real quick here. This is a great product. A lot of people use it for doing fabric.
Jim, we'll get to that.
Okay.
I want to talk about the interior decals.
Okay, sure.
Started thinking that with all these different patterns, there's a lot of creative things you can do with them. You can not only use them, let me just go around. You can not only use them on the interior of the car, but what about using them on the outside? A lot of race cars, show cars, street rods, tuner cars, a lot of graphics with patterns in them. Now, I'm using Photoshop here. You can use a program called Adobe Photoshop Elements. You can pick it up for about 34 bucks. We'll do everything that I'm going to show you here. Now, the first trick is to get a picture in it. There's a bunch of ways you can do that. You can, if you have a digital camera, of course, that's the easiest way. If you use a film camera, you can have a CD made when you get your pictures developed. If you just have a photograph, you can scan it. This is a picture, and we're going to play with it a little bit and make a pattern from it. I'm just going to cut it down. It's weird when it up on his piece. Now, after you crop an image, if you crop it right to the front and right to the back, you can actually go and measure the model you're working with. Go into the image size and say this was a 7-inch model. keep the proportions the same. Now we have a picture here that's the exact same model, exact same size as the model that we're building. Now you can also, if you want to, you can go in and erase the background. This thing called a magic eraser. Just use a regular.
What version of Photoshop is this, Greg?
This is 6, but the Photoshop Elements it has all these tools in it. So we're just going to get rid of this inside of the wheel stuff. It's hard to see it on this screen. Okay, now, this is the trick that even if you have a really old photo program, if you go into the different things you can do, a lot of them call it coloring book. But with this, you go into the filters and stylize, and you find the edges. You go back over to the image, you go on what's called the mode, you change it to grayscale. Now you have a line drawing of your car. Let's shrink this down. Now, there's drawing tools that you can use. Put some graphics on. And I don't want to spend too much time going into that. If you have the program, the instructions will tell you how to do it. It's really quite simple. Now those are all graphics just added in with this program. Now what you can do is you can take some Fisker paper. Anybody use that for masking? And we can run that through the printer. Alright, there's all 4 sides. We have 2 different colors we want to use. We just print that out, take an X-Acto knife, cut out your patterns. Now, on this car, I use a dark colored car and I tried some Alclad. And I'll pass this around for the graphics. One side's just got the Alclad. The other side, and I took the same patterns. I printed them out on the back of a decal sheet. Just cut them out and lay them on over. So now you've got not only the colors in your graphics, you've got some texture to it as well. It was quick, simple, and really easy to do. All right, we'll come back and do some more with this in a little bit.
Can you cut, shape, or form those graphics?
What do you mean?
What if you wanted to reverse them or add another loop to it?
Oh, sure. You can do anything you want.
Or see it out?
You wanted to flip it around. There's the other side.
No, I mean, leave it that way, but flip the black one around, or is it going the other
You
direction?
can. You can. I didn't. They're locked in on the fixture. As you do the graphics, you can move them around, and they actually make a separate layer each time you add another image.
So if the elements has layers?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. We'll come back to that in a minute. Pass it up. Pass it around. You got stuff on that. Go down. Jim, you want to do something else quick? And then
Sure. I have a question on that.
You have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, the gold, whatever it was, where do you get that stuff? The thread, gold.
Suck it up and go to the like the fabric store. It's just metallic thread. They all have it. There's some things we have to do. We have to go get the makeup sponges, we have to get the nail polish. It's a lot of things, one of those. Greg mentioned texture. Well, I was going to mention that is, this is a great product. A lot of people use it for interiors. I use it for primer. If you build big scale, have you ever noticed that big scale models have a tendency to look like a big toy? It's real hard to replicate. What happens is the bigger it gets, you start to know things are missing. If you pick that cylinder head up, you'd notice the finish of it is bumpy. The way the freeze-out plug is nice and crisp. Now, on 1/25th scale, it very rarely comes up that you notice that the texture is wrong. You start getting to 16th, 8th, 12th. This is from a poker Rolls Royce. I use this for primer and put black over it to simulate cast iron because the block's cast iron. The actual block is really sand cast in that area. And I wanted to pick up that texture, not a smooth plastic texture. I wanted to, this obviously I just taped off just for kind of demonstration. This is part of the motor. But it gives you a really convincing iron texture. I have a Corvette I'm building. I can't take the engine out of it because it's stuck in there. It's a 1/12 scale Corvette, and the block looked like a giant lump of plastic. Real smooth. I taped off where the freeze-out plugs would go, painted them a little gold, taped them where they go. I used a coat of this for primer, and used Chevy orange over it. Now it looks like an iron motor. Undercoating. I put it inside of some wheel wells for undercoating. Then take the same paint. This is exactly the same paint, the same black paint. Just for a demonstration of this. You can see how shiny it is on the frame rail. I'll pass it around. But take a look at the texture in the wheel well, just like it was undercoating. There are other places you want to add texture. It is fabulous in itself. I use it for interiors. Occasionally, if the color you want isn't available, you can paint something over it. I do. When I say I use it for texture, I use it for texture on the block, I use it for texture in wheel wells. We've been discussing a lot. I noticed at this NNL the same theme of thinking outside the box. Just because this, what it's meant for. Just because an upholstery decal is meant for the inside, that was the original plan, that doesn't preclude you from sticking it on the outside. You can also pass on this side, you can see the texture there. Oops, sorry. There are a lot of things like that. You ready again?
Yeah.
Okay, go.
Now, a new line Matthew's got out, in addition to the interior decals, there's a bunch of, the tuna card decals, but there's some really neat shapes, checkered flags, all sorts of things that you can do with these. So make sure you stop by up here and take a look at them. I'm going to do a little bit more with the computer. Not only can you do your graphics, but you can design your next project. You take some of the things that we learned today about photography, and apply them to your model building. Now this year in the 03 class there was a Willys CAD model. There's the CAD from that. I found this, actually I've seen this truck in a few different places. Full computer, very slow. Now that was made with a Zephyr and a F-150 Ford. But by the time I get done chopping the top, it kind of looked like a Willys thing. Well, with the 03 category, you can only use items that were available at the time the model was released. So I came across a Lincoln Continental, I think Monogram put out. And it was pretty old. kind of had the front fender and the rear fenders that would make that pickup. So what we're going to do, real quick. Now when I set these up, the camera was on a tripod. I put both models at the same angle, the same distance from the camera. So that when we're done, we'll have pictures that are in scale with each other. Excuse the dust. We're just going to trim out this fender. It doesn't take very long to do. And you'll actually be able to put together a model on your computer without really ruining any of the kit you have. And now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go to this stylized filter and we're going to find the edges of this piece. And the one with all the dust. We'll go over and we'll turn it into a black and white picture. And we're going to shrink it back down. We'll make it 33%. All right, we'll come back to this guy. We're going to do the same thing with this truck. Again, we'll go back to that stylized filter.
Wait. Sorry.
My other drawings at 33%, so we'll just bump that up a little bit. And this is a kind of a move from one picture to another. And we can just go ahead and lay that fender in there and see what it's going to look like when we put it on the model. That only took a few minutes, and you can kind of see where you need to go when you actually build the project. Now you can take the same thing and shoot it from a bunch of different angles and take different pieces and put it together, straight from the front or the side. Now there we have the same truck. We took the front fender off the Continental and the rear fender. In that kit, you could either build the pickup or you could build the two-door Willys. Well, this is the back fender off the car part. And if we took both fenders off the Continental, we have something like that to start with. It'll give you an idea of where you want to go. And you're not trying to draw something. You're actually, these drawings that you see here are exactly what you're going to be working with. The size and the shape are right where they need to be. Now another thing you can do with this is halfway through building a project. Now this is a mock-up.
On the 32 boat.
Now, Jarris Watson car, a number of years ago in Model Cars magazine, that I kind of took the idea from. But if we were to take and turn this into a line drawing, now we can print that out. We can sit down and mess around with it with a pencil, and you can figure out exactly where you have to go next. What you have to shape differently to get the look you're looking for. It'll save you a lot of time, a lot of frustration, and you won't be ruining pieces trying to figure something out. You can do it on paper. And when you actually work on the project, you feel good about it because you know where you're going with it. There's just so many things that you can design. You can design a zillion models and maybe only build one of them. But it's just another part of the hobby, another part of the creative process that's easy to do, and outside of maybe having to buy a program, although the Elements program is free with a lot of scanners and printers and cameras. Now this is a frame for a 32. We can do the same thing with if you want to scratch build the rear suspension and the front suspension, you cut this down, you tell it what size you want the image to be, and now you've got a pattern to work from. You can make your parts right off of this, and they'll fit perfectly onto your model. So just use a little imagination, just play with it is the best way to do it. All right. Sure. Jim, you got a couple other quick ones you want to do?
Oh, I got a couple other, well, non-related, quick little tip things, and like some other tip things. So, I found it. I thought it was lost. Okay. Greg Hutchings thought this was just great, so I made one of these things. I have a way I take parts off a model and put them back. The first thing I want to say is, if photo etch parts are available for what you want to do, that's a great thing. If photo etch parts aren't available, or occasionally a photo etch part is too flat. One example was that on the back of the 62 Thunderbird, there are 3 little chrome waves on each side, and they have a very pronounced height to them. And I was doing my 62 Thunderbird, and I wanted to remove them so I could polish it and put them back on, but I wasn't happy with how flat the photo etch part was. What I did was, took aluminum foil, and I burnished it over the part. And well, actually, I'll show you this, because I did this just yesterday. I took this envelope, even though I don't know whether this is chrome or not, because I was showing someone how I did it. But I just took a toothpick and rubbed until I got a good impression of this little feature. And I filled it with JB Weld. Now, filling with JB Weld has an interesting quality, because the JB Weld sticks to the dull side of the aluminum really, really well. And then when you're done with it, you can take a scissor or an X-Acto knife, or whatever you want, and you can trim. I'm not going to trim the whole thing out so you can see both steps at the same time. And you can trim the part out. And what you're left with is not a part that needs to be foiled, but you're left with a metal part. Or actually, not a metal part, it's an epoxy part that's, excuse me, I'm thinking less. So you're left with an epoxy part which is covered in aluminum foil. So that gives you a really nice little metal detail to stick on. Another advantage is you can take a detail or a feature you like on one model, lift it, and stick it on another one. I'm just going to trim. I'm not trimming it really too close because I can't see what I'm doing for some reason. Please turn. You can get an idea of how I'll hand this around. I did this with the Thunderbird. I have a few of them that are finished, and I'll I'll send them around here on this card. It still isn't set up all the way. You really need to let these sit about 8 hours, and I just did this morning, so it's probably not cured enough. But this is this little chrome feature on the back of this Peugeot Rally. I don't even know if it's supposed to be chrome or just a feature, just kind of it was a little shape I tried to duplicate.
How do you peel off the bare metal foil without?
You don't peel over it. No. The bare metal foil stays attached to the epoxy forever.
That's just regular aluminum foil.
That's aluminum foil. This isn't bare metal foil. This is aluminum
Oh,
foil.
okay.
This is regular out of the kitchen aluminum foil and JB Weld. You can get it at the hardware store. If you're real careful with it, then nothing. Try to breathe on this tomorrow. Taped to this, you'll see there are a couple power window buttons and a couple of those side trims for one of those Thunderbirds on this, and also with some other parts I stole off of other things. I'll have this out. I'll put this that way and this that way. It's not set up real hard now, so we'll kind of bend it. We'll just bend it. And you can, and the foil stays stuck to the epoxy. You can sand the bottom of it. You can, you can kind of play with it a little bit, trim it off, polish it, and glue it back on when you want. The other one is completely unrelated.
Tell people what JB Weld is.
Oh, it's a two-part epoxy. You can get it at any hardware store. You can get it at, no, I don't think Home Depot had it. They had every other darn thing.
So is that preferable to just the regular like?
It's
15
stronger, than it takes, what, 10 hours to set up?
Yeah, it takes a long time to set up, and this will stick to the aluminum foil. That's what I was looking for here. Something that would stick to the aluminum foil, so when I was done,
It wouldn't come off.
it wouldn't come off.
I've used that same technique with putty, and it doesn't stick to the putty very well.
Oh, it's JB Weld will stick to the aluminum, and that's it. I like to machine my own pulleys from V-belts, but there is no suitable V-belt material. But I discovered that if I take a toothpick, this is real easy. If I take a toothpick and cut about 1/8 inch off the end of it with a scissor, and then take a bar of soap and drag the toothpick in such a way that it makes a little, kind of like the same pattern as a V-belt in the soap, and then rub silicone in it, it makes belts. It makes a perfect little V-belt. This goes stuck in the soap some, so you turn it around. But it makes a length. Now what you got to do is always make sure you close the drain and the sink. But you put it in your fingers and run the water over it because it'll have soap will be stuck to it. And you're going to rinse it off and it'll clean all the soap residue off it. But if you take a good look at it in a side view or a trim, you can see that this one is going to give you a very convincing V-shaped belt, a little bit of hang off there. And if you have any trouble at all getting it off like I just did there, just make the soap wet, because
So you're saying silicone like the black silicone or whatever you get at the store?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a little tail of it hanging out here. Actually, if I hand it around with it sticking in there still, I think it's pretty obvious what it does. It makes a little trough, you push it down hard and rub it, and it just, believe me, just wants to let the tail of it stick up because it's in there. And if you make your own pulleys, like I do, because I can never find what I want, there, there's a little piece of belt sticking on there. Cut a little cross section with a scissor. If anybody has a magnifying glass, I keep one in my pocket. Stuck to the soap. You can look at the cross section of that. I know it's a little kind of anal retentive, but if you look at the cross section of that piece of rubber left sticking up in the soap, you can see it's the same shape as a V-belt, which is really kind of like a lampshade. And it always fits because you can stretch it a little bit. You can glue it back on a little crazy glue, a little of the same silicone. Find a place on the pulley where you can't see it underneath, and then you can get whatever length belt you want. And it won't be round like a piece of wire or something. It always looks round. This will have a flat top to it. If you really want a crisp one, you'll lay it on a piece of glass, and sometimes little hairs are going to trim off.
All right.
Oh, huh? Want to do some more? I'll do some more. Whatever.
Scale Motorsports, since from moving from individual products, from decals, photo etch, to super kits, The new Enzo that's out from Tamaya is an absolutely fabulous model. And coming later this summer, there's going to be a super detail kit for that with a reference CD full of pictures, a whole bunch of photo etch, including a hood, a whole bunch of composite decals, a lot of metal turning parts, wiring. So as you can see, the industry has come a long ways. And maybe even topping that. Don't do that. Around the same time, later this summer, there'll be a detail kit come out for Tamaya. It's 12 scale 935. And after we're done, come up and take a look through these books and the parts that are going to be in that kit. You'll be absolutely amazed. You got some more? Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, okay. I got a couple of
Yes.
ones.
Where will we be able to find that at? The-
Find what out?
The, yeah, that right there?
The Enzo?
Yeah,
Just go to his website.
Well, also Matthew will have a display tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow morning. All the products that we're talking about today, he'll have out for you tomorrow. And you can certainly talk to him more about this. It's going to be an absolutely unbelievable kit.
sounds like
And
it.
the kit's already unbelievable.
Yeah, the model from Tamaya is one of the nicest things they've ever done. And then you add all these details onto it, you're going to have really a showpiece. You want to do a couple more little?
A couple little things. I guess I handed a business card around, has a bunch of stuff taped to it.
Yeah.
Where's that? Okay,
It's right here in my pocket.
hey. I swipe parts a lot. And I like things really sharp. I really, really like sharp details. And I was building that 62 Thunderbird, and you know, it's real hard to paint an edge around those parts and just have it look absolutely perfectly razor sharp. But if I grind them off from the back till they fall off, sand them, and take a second firewall, you'll see on that card there should be there's a brake booster on there, there's a heater blower on there, and then I'll add them again later. That same trick I did with the door panel. You'll see there's some little door handles on there. I ground all the door handles off because you're going to use the little, I was going to use the photo etch deal anyway. I ground all the door handles off from the back. Then I clogged the hole up with the photo etch piece of aluminum. Then I'm going to put the same features back on because the real car, I had an opportunity to look at a real car, those pieces have a lot of curve and depth to them, and I didn't want to replicate them with flat material.
So is your car out there? Is your Thunderbird out there?
Severed a tendon in my hand, and no. So I spent months where I couldn't even hold a butter knife, let alone build a model. So no, it's not out there. It's part of it here.
While you were cutting these parts out?
Yeah, the dashboard's here where you can see the speaker grill through the dash. That's all here. And a couple of little items that just, we get some other new products, but if you go to the craft store, you can buy these micron pens. Didn't we got these? 5,000s. You can get them in a whole plethora of colors. Yeah, they're just great. If you want to add a little, I like to add like little speedometer details. So you go a little like, what's red? Put a little red, a little green line over there. They're really sharp. And this little gadget stole from the wife is really great. It's one of the T-strainer deals. I use it for doing the felt in the interiors.
Yeah, flocky.
Yeah, but it doesn't
Really-
flop all over there. It stays kind of contained in here.
Yeah, but I find it keeps it from clumping.
Yeah.
If you hit it like this.
Yep, yep. You all use photo etch parts. I'm sure the next thing I'm going to say, I'm sure you all know, I always put tape on the back of them. So when you cut them out, you have something. Now here's something a lot of people don't do. I use 3M adhesive remover extensively. It comes in a rectangular can. The card I have passed around has little parts on it. You take those door handles, you ever use that new Alclad chrome paint? Paint those door handles, leave them stuck right to that tape with the Alclad paint. But you don't want to really be abusive with them. See, those parts are stuck to that tape pretty good. You don't want to really start yanking them around hard to get them off. So right next to the part, I put one drop of 3M adhesive remover. Comes out of a rectangular can, and you hold it with the tweezers, and as soon as the adhesive remover gets under the tape, you can lift it right off. No pulling, no yanking, no twisting, so you can even do the most delicate piece without having to use any effort. It'll stay stuck to the tape while you paint it, then you can handle it. A can will last you way past your life.
Yeah.
Because you use it in a drop at a time, it comes in a quart, I think.
Where do you find that stuff?
Body supply, anybody who does auto body supply. What else?
It's called adhesive remover.
Yep, 3M adhesive remover. I use masking tape, sticky side up, stick all the pieces to it, you know. I started doing this when I did it. There's a challenger out there. The scripts are, I foil copied the scripts, and they were so light. I mean, I was able to cast them with the seal open and everything, but it was impossible to breathe near them. So I wanted to tape them down. Well, I taped them down, painted them, that was great, but I couldn't. So I couldn't find a way that I could paint them, keep them, not breathe on them, not lose them, then get them back off the tape. And that's how I said, well, if I do this, then I can do that, then tap them on a paper towel, touch them with a little clear paint, stick them right to the car. Done. Then you don't have to handle that many times. I try not to handle. A lot of times I'll take a little photo etch parts up and I'll make actually a little tape handle to hold. Because I just can't handle some of this stuff. The ability to etch something, I mean, really tiny details is fabulous, but it's way beyond my ability to handle as far as dexterity. So I'll have to leave a tape handle on, you know, and get it kind of close, and I'll take the adhesive remover and take it off. I'll let you do that.
Another trick is to take a toothpick and just put a little bit of sticky on it.
Yep.
And you can use that.
What do you do? Rubber cement sometimes. We'll tack it and lift it, and you pull it right back off. We'll have to stick it apart.
Silicone glue, clear silicone glue is
We'll
good.
do that. Yeah. There's a lot of ways to handle that. I guess just what you get used to. You want to do the next one?
Well, while we're talking about photo etch for a minute, most of the parts you get on a photo etch sheet are not that silver color. So then what do you do with them? You can sand them with different grits, and that will actually change the color. You can use like a brass wheel on a Dremel tool to give it kind of a gold color. The Alclad 2 works great as long as you buff the part up just a little bit with a real fine sandpaper before you paint it. Now when you put them together, you could use super glue. I'm trying to learn how to do it with solder, actually solder them together. I forgot to bring a soldering iron with me. But Jim, you want to explain how you solder?
Oh, yeah. You know, unfortunately, there's only so much stuff we can bring in the plane. I find that if I tin both parts, if I wanted to make this connection with photo etch parts, if I tin both parts and then sand almost all the solder away, then touch the pieces together and then just tap them with a pencil soldering and they're stuck. So I don't try to put two pieces together then flow solder in there. It's just too much solder. I'll tin one piece, tin the other piece.
What do you mean by tin?
Basically what I'll do is clean up and put solder just on that piece. I'll float solder right on that piece. So I'm not soldering the piece to anything, I'm just soldering solder to it. You file or sand it away till there's just a breath of solder just on the edge where you're making the connection. But that solder is already infiltrated into the metal. It's stuck on there. If you put the two pieces together and then just touch the corner with a pencil soldering iron, 1, 2, 3, let it go, it's there. And you don't have big blobs of solder hanging around.
Is that how you did that Edsel front of those pieces?
Sure, what?
Is that how you did that Edsel front of those pieces?
That's how the stands are on, but that's not how the stands are, each letter is on its own separate stand, it spaces away from the grill. If you actually use all the pieces in there, those are soldered, and then then it's just crazy glued to the stands are just crazy glued to the thing. Because I already had the grill in the car and I didn't want to heat the grill up in the plastic car.
Probably the best tip I could give you for improving your models is make sure you wash your hands. Wash your hands before you start working on them. Have a bowl of water at your workbench. Build for a little bit. Get the oil off your fingers. Dry your hands and go back to work. You'd be amazed at the difference in your models if you just do that one thing. Now, if you go through a kid's craft store, they have these little pieces of foam. They're about 50 cents, 75 cents. If you put them down in your workbench, you'd be amazed how many little parts you don't lose. They hit this and they don't roll around. They don't go anywhere. They hit it and stop. You stick pins in it. It's a great little mat to work on. They're cheap. You spill some glue on it, throw it out, and get another. And this checkerboard is pretty cool to put a model on in a contest. Now, I'm just going to show you this. If you want to know more about it, I'll be glad to talk about it. I've started doing more scratch building. Augie's inspired me to try and make some. This is a chassis for a 32 Ford. I took a pattern and I showed my milling machine. I laid out just using some dowel pins. Each frame rail is made out of 2 pieces of brass. put them in the jig, they bend together, and you solder. And it's like plywood. It'll hold that shape forever. It's not going to change. So I'll pass this around if you want to take a quick look at it. But just a little imagination, a little bit of time, and you'll be amazed what you can do. You might not think that you have the talent to do it, but if Jim and I can do it. Another little thing, I've been working with these micro miniature screws and nuts. Anybody ever use those? You ever spend 3 hours trying to get a nut on? It sometimes takes a long time. You just take a toothpick and just file it in a little bit so it just starts to stick in the nut. You use it like a screwdriver, and it's so quick and easy. Do you have anything else you want to show?
No, I have any questions, but we do have one other
Questions or
item.
anything you want to ask?
Speaking of the nuts, if you're gonna put 500 of them on a model, you call Robert Bentley at RV Motion, he makes you a nut driver for that size nut.
Oh, he does that?
Yes, he does.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have a quad 0160 nut driver. I mean, you gotta be careful, it'll bend, but
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Now, in addition to photo etch and decals, he also comes out with some polishing cloths that are fantastic. One of the other tools he just came out with. Just.
Is this the holder on this?
Now, I don't smoke, it looks like I got a pocket full of matches here. You ever try and polish, with your polishing kit, a real small part or getting close to an edge?
Inside a
Bend the
corner.
thing up, and it's kind of difficult. Well, these are some little strips of micro mesh. Mounted on plastic, so you can get them wet. Yeah, we're gonna pass them around and take a good look at it.
Okay, left or can leave it back there?
Pass it back. Pass it back. I need these tonight, I gotta finish a project. But all the grits are here.
Yeah, don't worry, we got plenty tomorrow.
He's got plenty more. So all the products that we talked about today, Matthew will have for you tomorrow. You can take a look at them. You're more than welcome to come up and take a look at everything we got here. We'd be happy to answer